Hello and welcome to Screen Fever. My name is Adam Barnard, and today I'm joined by Jackson Smith to discuss a brand new Ant-Man and the Wasp trailer which just dropped this morning. It is a movie that is coming out in July, I believe, of this year, so we don't have to wait that long, and they waited right until after Infinity War had come out to start rolling out the bigger marketing pieces like full trailers that are more story heavy. So, Jackson, what did you think of this trailer?
Well, having literally just watched Infinity War, I really appreciate that Marvel is releasing what seems to be a pretty standard, fun, upbeat action comedy right after the seriously dour final stretch of Infinity War. I think we're in need of some levity, and this movie looks like it's going to provide it.
I think it's part of what is so great about Marvel is because they're able to manage different stories and different tones within the same cinematic universe. And there's some
Yeah,
franchises that just don't do it so well, in my opinion.
yeah,
Like they have, like even I mean I hate to rag on them, but we have to like DC. Like if you look at the difference between Justice League or Man of Steel or some of the other or Batman vs Superman, it's like it's the same actors, it's the same characters, but you somehow struggle with like the world building. I
yeah.
think that's one of the greatest accomplishments of Marvel is because I watched this trailer and I don't think like, oh, this is gonna negate what I saw in Infinity War. I still think this is gonna add to how I feel about this combined universe.
Totally, totally. And Ant-Man 2, especially with this trailer, looks like it's really going to be expanding the universe. They hinted at in the trailer that Hank Pym is going to be going into the quantum realm, probably to
Yeah.
look for his long lost wife. And that opens up a whole new realm of possibility and a whole new realm of space, or I guess anti-space in this in this particular franchise to explore and go to. So it's interesting that for a small movie and one of the smaller franchises in the grand scheme of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, we're getting a look into sort of a bigger and different world.
Right. And I gotta preface this. This is actually a prequel to Infinity War. In the timeline, it is set after Civil War, but before Infinity War.
Yeah.
So I think I sometimes wonder if that's going to be a little confusing for the casual viewer. Here's another example. When Star Wars: The Force Awakens first came out, it was a very big deal. Everyone kind of got hooked on these new characters of Rey and Poe and Finn and the world, 30 years after the original trilogy. And then the next year, or very soon after Force Awakens came out, trailers for Rogue One started dropping, and I cannot count the amount of times where my mom or somebody else who's not in the sphere of movie fandom is like, "Wait, so that's Rey? Or where's Finn? Or that's Finn? That looks like is that an old Finn? Is Forrest
Oh
Whitaker an old
yeah.
Finn?" And I had to explain, no, this is actually a prequel to the original, and it did not make much sense to them, and it's something that I think from a marketing standpoint it could confuse people. I do also know that most of the casual audience doesn't go because of exactly where in the MCU this movie fits in. They go because it looks fun. And let me tell
Yeah.
you, this trailer delivered. I loved it. I really loved it. I wasn't the biggest fan of the original. Well, here's the thing. It's not so much that Ant-Man isn't a good movie. It's that it's like the redheaded stepchild of the MCU. Because it's
Why you gotta
good.
rag on gingers,
No,
man?
no, 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 no. I just it's a trope. It's a
I'm kidding.
colloquial
I kid.
humor. Okay, okay, good. But like, it's not so much that it isn't the first one wasn't a great movie. It's just that in comparison to its siblings and parents, it kind of looks inadequate. It didn't bring the same innovation that like Winter Soldier did or Doctor Strange did, or exploring these different kinds of stories.
I agree. Look, it's been a while since I saw the first Ant-Man movie, and I will confess that it's probably one of the few Marvel movies that I walked out of with a very distinct thumbs down. I didn't think it was
Really?
a bad, yeah, I didn't think it was a bad movie, but again, like Marvel movies, we kind of judge them compared to each other, and
Yeah.
it was probably the worst thing I saw in the Marvel universe. I thought it felt kind of flat. A lot of the jokes were funny. Some of the jokes I didn't think were that funny. Like I didn't think the Michael Pena stuff was all that funny. Everybody else seemed to. But what really frustrated me about the movie, and this sort of ties into what I think about the trailer, what really frustrated about the movie is shake the whole time that things would have been so much more interesting and so much better had Evangeline Lilly just been Ant-Man. Like the whole movie, she's like talking to Hank Pym like, I can do this. I can do this better.
Right.
Why are you hiring this, stupid guy to put on the suit? And yet in this movie, it looks like it's just going to be Wasp doing a bunch of cool stuff. And I'm so here for that. I think this is the closest we've gotten so far to a female Marvel superhero having her own movie, and she really looks like she's going to own it.
Well, I tell you what, I hope sometime in the future she does get her own movie because just from the trailer alone, I'd be interested in seeing it. I do want to respectfully disagree with some of the stuff you said about Ant-Man. I think part of what Marvel's mandate for story is even in the movies that big action set pieces don't belong, they still get put in there, like Spider-Man Homecoming and some of the other movies where it's like, why is it end of the world type climax? But the reason what Marvel does is it tries to pair unique and resonant stories with those action set pieces. And the Avengers and Captain America has done it great. And I actually think Ant-Man did an okay job because at its heart, it was really the story about two fathers who are struggling to get along with their daughters and be emotionally available and supportive and empathetic to their kids while also carrying burdens of their own. And that's kind of what pairs Paul Rudd with Michael Douglas's character in the first movie. And I liked it because I went in like, it's an ant. Like, okay, it felt so gimmicky. Like I don't read the comics, so I feel like that's a strike against me for sure. But I was just like, okay, we have Falcon, we have someone flying, now we have someone shrinking. It's like, how much can they milk this? I came out not loving it, but I liked. It wasn't the humor that sold me. It wasn't even necessarily the action that sold me. It was the characters like Evangeline Lilly and Paul Rudd and Michael Douglas and their performances and their interactions with each other that ultimately made it a worthy experience, even, like I said, if it doesn't live up to other Marvel properties.
I'm definitely going to go back and watch it again before I see this movie. Also, too, because kind of echoing what you said earlier, I think I forgot a lot of the first movie.
Yeah.
In the same way that, I think parents are keeping up exactly with Star Wars. Like there was a lot of things in this trailer, like when they go to Michael Pena and he says like, oh, now you're coming to me for this. I'm like, did they come to you in the first movie? I can't really remember. His role in the first movie is kind of foggy to me. So there's a lot of detail that I'm kind of missing.
Certainly.
But so I'm going to go back and I rewatch it, and I might like it better the second time around, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think this is going to be, judging from the trailer, it's going to be an improvement.
I think so.
Peyton Reed, who directed the first Ant-Man, is also directing this. Somehow, this movie just looks better and brighter and more sharp from a filmmaking perspective.
I'm going to tell you exactly why that is, Adam. It's because they shot it in the right aspect ratio.
What did they shoot it in last time?
I think they shot in 1:8:5 for the first one, which is like the TV aspect ratio, and this one's in widescreen.
235.
It's in 239. So,
okay.
And I just I'm of the camp that movies and specifically like big superhero movies just should be shot in widescreen. So automatically it just looks more cinematic.
I can see that. At the same time, like, if you go to see Avengers on IMAX, that's also like 185. Like, IMAX is almost, it's just on a bigger screen. I'm talking about the production quality of the image. Like, part of what didn't work with me in the first one is a lot of it was set indoors and it was so darkly lit and it just looked drab. So there's these really interesting scenes going on with Evangeline Lilly and Michael Douglas and like these characters, these really great conversations, and it just looks like subpar network TV.
It does.
And it's just like, it takes the wind out of your sails and you have this giant visual effects extravaganza and then you can't even shoot two people sitting down in a dialogue scene and making it look good. That said, this movie, it looks like Peyton Reed, every filmmaker, when they do a movie like this, they come out the other end more prepared to deal with the technical elements and balance a more complex production. And I think I really liked some of the imagery and like with the knife and the bird, like when you're shrunk, you're so vulnerable. It's supposed to be a superpower, but everyday objects are now potentially lethal buildings that can fall down on you. So it kind of activated my inner child seeing all this stuff where it's like, it feels like one of those Disney rides, you know, like Star Tours, where you're with the heroes and you're flying, you know, you're getting rocked around in your seat. Like, I want that kind of fun. And I want to this is the kind of movie you'd like to see in 3D or 4D theater, because it's so engaging of the senses when they get shrunk down in these action scenes.
You know, prepared is a really key word, because thinking back to the first Ant-Man movie, that movie had a really troubled production history.
Oh, right.
Edgar Wright got fired at the last second, and Peyton Reed kind of came in to pick up the mess. And on top of that, you know, they were starting a new sub-franchise off of a character that not a whole lot of people are familiar with. So it probably they probably spent significantly less money on it than they did, say, like Ultron or Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Whereas this movie, it feels like they thought it out. It feels like they had a consistent writing and directing crew from the start, and I think that's really going to show on the final product. I think it's going to be a really cool looking movie.
I agree. Well, anyways, thank you for joining us for this Ant-Man and the Wasp discussion. I think I can put myself solidly in the camp of looking forward to this.
Me too.
I honestly had forgotten that this even was coming out in the summer. Like, you know, I knew Solo, Deadpool, Infinity War, Jurassic 2, Incredibles, and after that it just becomes this blur. And like, this is kind of igniting my excitement for some late summer blockbusters. You know, a late summer blockbuster that I actually really didn't know I wanted to see, but I do.
Yeah, because of the whole foreign release schedule, a lot of blockbusters now are coming out earlier in the year. So I think this is going to be a really solid, fun summer blockbuster, and I'm excited to see it too.
Well, let us know what you thought of the trailer in the comments, and if you like some of the discussions we've been having or want to hear our full-length podcast, be sure to subscribe to the Screen Fever channel. Anyways, I'm Adam.
I'm Jackson.
And thank you for joining us today.